Says, if you don't know it, if I don't know it, somebody's got to know it. Look it up. Realized what a disservice we're doing to our cats by not feeding them a species appropriate diet. Small animal veterinarian has to know over 35 different species, and they just can't specialize in the nutrition needed. And we were told, given scripts to answer.
Did you ever feel like you weren't getting answers from vets or pet food companies?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Hi, my name's Alice Wright. I'm a breeder of Siberian cats for over 30 years and the author of the book, The Raw Facts of Feline Feeding. So we've been a raw feeding cattery for a very long time.
Can you tell us a little bit more about your background and experience being a vet tech?
So my education started as a veterinary technician. I started off as a kennel cleaner, as most kids do, first job. Worked up into a veterinary technician, and this was before the industry was really highly regulated. They didn't have all those fancy certifications 35, 40 years ago that they do now. And I worked for many different veterinary hospitals, but the one in particular that I started with that encouraged me to learn as much as I can. And he says, if you don't know it, if I don't know it, somebody's got to know it. Look it up, read the information, find out. And even though I no longer work in veterinary medicine and haven't for a long time, I still continue getting continuing education credits. Every year, every couple of months, I'll pop in and hit a continuing education seminar that piques my interest, especially in the nutrition. There's such a big deficit of knowledge, even among a lot of our professionals, about the raw diets and how to feed them and why to feed them, which is why I wrote the book, The Raw Facts of Feline Feeding, because it starts off with how kibble came about, how it's regulated or not regulated, depending on your point of view, and then what the benefits are of feeding the raw diet from there.
What made you start looking into raw food in the first place?
Being a breeder and being a veterinary technician for over 25 years, I really started looking into the nutrition and health because I didn't find the answers where they were most commonly being given. So looking into the raw, it helped with so much just by starting and by using small bits of it for, a particular illness or a particular ailment, that I've researched it further and further and just absolutely realized what a disservice we're doing to our cats by not feeding them a species appropriate diet. If we were zoos, if you were coming to a zoo and petting our cats and all of that, we would lose our accreditation if we didn't feed a species appropriate diet. So why is it okay for us as pet owners and professionals to feed these kibble-based corn, wheat, soy, beet pulp, and sugar diets, and then wonder why our animals are getting all of these illnesses?
Do you have any personal stories of your own cats having issues before switching to raw?
Yeah, the catalyst for me actually was before I had Siberian, so 35, 36 years ago. The catalyst for me looking into it was I had adopted an older pedigree Siamese that they said, oh, this cat has heart problems, he has kidney problems, he's going to die soon. Why don't you take him? Because they knew I was a veterinary technician. And so I immediately took him, looked into it. My vet said the same thing. The vet that I was working for at the time said, yeah, I agree. He's got these heart conditions and these kidney conditions. And that's when I really delved into why, how they got that way, and what we can do about it. So I started, again, with that little bit, like maybe we'd start doing this here or that there. And as he got better and lived 4 more years for me, my eyes went, holy smokes, there's something to this. And it just kept progressing over the years into feeding an entirely species-appropriate diet.
Did you see any behavioral changes when you started feeding raw?
When you're not feeding a raw diet, you can run into things such as cats hiding because they don't feel good, because their needs aren't being met. If the raw diets fit not just their physical needs, but also it helps meet their mental needs, their psychological needs. Cats are ambush prey hunters. That's all they are. That's over a million years of evolution. They haven't evolved. They haven't changed. There's no cat that has evolved to not become an ambush hunter. So when you're not feeding a species appropriate diet, when you're feeding a little pre-cooked kibble nugget that's full of stuff that they can't digest, their stomachs don't feel good, so they lie around a lot more. They gain weight more easily. So again, they're lying around more. Their mental aspect is not being met, so you're not meeting all of their needs. So you're not getting the interaction, you're not reaching their full potential.
Did you ever feel like you weren't getting answers from vets or pet food companies?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I even spent time as a pet food representative, and this again goes back probably 30, 35 years ago, as a representative for Nutro. And we were given scripts to answer, and the scripts just didn't make sense, at least to me. It wasn't what I knew from reading my veterinary texts, what I knew from talking to actual breeders in the industry.
That's crazy that they gave you scripts. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They give you pages of, if a person says this, here's how you draw them into our brand. If a person says this, this is how you draw them into our brand. Not about giving answers. It's about selling their. Yeah. You know, vets are great folks. Don't ever underestimate vets. But a small animal veterinarian has to know over 35 different species. Yeah. And they just can't specialize in the nutrition needed, with cats and ferrets actually being obligate carnivores that they need to learn about. So they know a little bit about mice and a little bit about turtles and a little bit about birds and a lot about dogs, because there's a lot of research out there about dogs. And then a little bit about everything. But what they're not given is a designated course on the different species needs, because clearly you're not going to feed a toucan the same thing you're going to feed your desert tortoise.
How did you first hear about Bonehead?
Well, my son works for one of the founders, and he came up to me and he said, let's talk about raw food. And I said, well, funny you should mention that. And again, I brought forth my book and talked to him, and he says, well, how would you feel about helping us formulate it? And I said, sure, let me know. And we kind of moved on from there. I didn't actually find out what the name of it was until I saw a package of it. So the cat food formulation is off of one of my basic formulas. Well, I know the Bonehead has 4 basic meats, the chicken, the beef, the goat, and the lamb, which is awesome because with cats rotating that diet, you have to rotate your proteins. No cat ever goes out and goes, I can't eat you, Mr. Mouse. I had you yesterday. You know, they're very opportunistic when it comes to that. So they may have a mouse 2 to 3 days and then, oh, hey, look, there's a bird's nest. And so for the next couple of days, they're going to have birds. So it's totally fine to feed the rotating proteins on every 3 to 4 days, but to give them that variety, because absolutely nothing is going to be 100% complete. Even with, if you look at the recalls on all of these 100% USDA complete AFCO meat standards, how many recalls are out there and how much damage has been done because they got the formula wrong? So when you're formulating your raw diets, the rotating of those proteins, again, that's meeting the medical need, the physical need for food, but it's also meeting the psychological need because it matches what they know, what their instinct tells them and they know. Because cats outside, big cats, small cats, doesn't matter. Scottish wildcat, the black-footed cat, they're smaller than than my cats here, but they're still a wild cat, and they still travel 5 to 10 miles a day in a pattern and do all of the traveling and all of the eating of the different types of proteins. So when I formulated that, I had that in mind because birds also have less bone than, say, a cow does. So you have to take that into consideration. Even though you're feeding beef now, you don't want to give them as much bone as if they had taken down a cow, because they aren't tigers. They're not going to naturally go out and say, oh, look, hey, that's cool. Mm-hmm. So birds have less bone content in them. Rabbits have less bone content in them, and that's how it was formulated based off of that premodel raw diet.
Have you noticed any changes in their coat, energy, digestion, or mood?
Well, we're a show cattery. So what that means for us is that they have to be in basically show condition most of the time, or anytime I want to pick them up and take them to a show. So that means they have to be healthy. They have to be temperamentally suited. And that can only happen if you have a diet that suits all of those needs on a consistent basis.
Were there any unexpected improvements that you noticed in your cats?
The biggest thing that I like is the lack of litter box odor. A species-appropriate diet will allow them to have a much lower odor in the litter box. This is just a mechanism believed to help them hide from larger predators, because these guys aren't the largest thing out there, and there are things that do predate on cats out there. Feeding a raw diet, they're not going to drink as much because they're getting that moisture from that diet. And conversely, they don't need to drink as much because that's where they're getting their moisture from.
How does it feel knowing exactly where your cat food comes from?
I love knowing where my cat food comes from. I love being able to see what's in it, to know what's in it, and more importantly, to know what's not in it, and wonder what that crazy coloring is or what that crazy shape is, because no kitty cat ever went and bought a product that had O's and X's and said, oh, that looks good. You don't spray it with fat just to make it edible, because there's so much corn in so many of the products, and there's so many peas and so many lentils. Things that are just completely undigestible to a cat have no place in their diet.
How would you say Bonehead compares to some other big pet food brands that you've tried in the past?
Bonehead compares great to a lot of brands because it doesn't try to overdo. It doesn't try to be something it's not to everybody, because it's not going to be for everybody. It's simple products. It's a simple item, and it's a one protein sourced item. You're not mixing 3 different protein sources, and then you're wondering, well, how much of this is in there and how much of that is in there. So you know exactly what you're feeding every time. If you don't want to feed goat, if you don't want to feed rabbit, if you're looking at maybe even your cat may have allergies, it's a phenomenal way to find out, okay, this week I'm going to feed this protein source. No allergy reaction. Great. Next week I feed this protein source. Oops, we're getting some itching. We're getting some sneezing. We're getting some scratching. Let's rotate onto another protein source. It's a phenomenal way to help you help your vet. Because if you go into your vet and you're feeding a big bag of something, or even some of these, what they call blends in the raw mixes, and there's 4 different animal proteins in there, and you go, well, he's kind of eating this and that and the next thing, and you hem and haw, your vet has no clue. Your vet has no idea, and he can't help you, and you're not helping your kitty. So now you've got a sick kitty, a vet bill, and you're still a square one.
What would you say is something that you made sure to include in Bonehead's cat food formula that a lot of other big pet food brands miss?
Great question. The tripe is what I included in the Bonehead formula, the raw tripe. Green tripe is amazing. It carries digestive enzymes that they're not going to get everywhere. Different animals carry different enzymes, and that again comes with the rotating of the proteins so that you can get the different sources from everything. It helps with digestion. It helps with the end result in your litter box. It helps keep those hairballs down because, again, not only is it moisture, but it's digesting everything on through. So green tripe is probably one of the biggest sources and might be one of the reasons why a kitty cat is going to, even a raw fed kitty cat might look at it and go, whoa, 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 what is that? Because cats have the same olfactory system almost as good as a dog's. So they can smell it in there, even though at the 3% level, we really can't. But they can smell it in there. And if they're not used to it, cats are creatures of habit, and they'll be like, wait a minute, I think we're going to give this a thought, give it a little shout out. So what I always suggest to people when they want to introduce the Bonehead is start slowly. Start with a little bit on a plate off to the side. Let them sniff it. Let them get used to it. then mix it in a little bit, and then add it on over.
What does it mean to you to see your cats thriving?
It is so satisfying. I mean, it's so amazing to me because I think so many cats are misunderstood. Again, they're still perceived as the pet that you can leave at home alone in the dark with a bowl of dry kibble and leave for 3 days on your own vacation. These guys are so stuck in our four walls and our four box, for lack of a better thing. We have having contained them in a box and taken away everything natural from them. And now you're wanting to change their food to this little pro-processed kibble nonsense that they would never see in the wild. So for them to thrive the way they do is just amazing. I mean, on top of being healthy and living long lives, this guy here is almost 4. The older girl that was here, she's almost 14, you know. So she's been on raw food pretty much her whole life. And that's really is, she's still showing, she's still active, she still goes out to photo shoots, she still goes out to pet me displays with thousands of people in attendance, and having the stamina and the health to continue to do that is just what we strive for in our feeding in general, as well as, you know, our care.
What would you say to someone who is on the fence about feeding raw?
Depends on why they're on the fence. If someone's on the fence on feeding raw and it's because, ooh, it's raw. Sorry, get over yourself. If it's because of some recall scare they've heard somewhere for something, you know, the bird flu has been around since the 60s. It was identified in the late 50s. This is nothing new. And if it really, really, really concerns you that much, don't feed chicken. There are so many other options out there. I know right now Bonehead's only got I say only, but it's got the 4 protein sources. But there is literally a dozen available sources readily throughout the U.S. Of different proteins that don't include chicken. So if you're hesitant to feed because of that recall, you might want to reconsider where the scaremongering, fear-mongering techniques are coming from. It happens in all our food sources, not just in raw food. There's no reason to do that. If you're hesitant because you don't know, maybe your schedule isn't conducive to it. Raw food can be safely left out for a few hours and not, you know, have to worry about contamination at that point. If you have an immune compromised person in your home, you can use paper plates. You can use disposable items. You can use gloves to help handle it. And you can put the kitty in a separate room when feeding them so that you can use sanitation wipes and wipe the area down when you're done. It's really not that big a deal. It's not hard to work around limitations. If the raw food makes it all the way through the gut and into the litter box, and again, you have that immune compromised person in your home, they shouldn't be cleaning the litter box anyway. That should be your job. So there's no reason not to try raw, and every reason in the world, every benefit in the world for your cat long term to be trying it raw.
Why would you recommend Bonehead Raw over other raw cat foods out there?
No, the Bonehead is an awesome product. Again, because it's a single source product, when you open that bag of goat, you know that goat is what's in there. If you open the chicken, you know the chicken is what's in there. You don't wonder about that mystery meat. I wonder what that was. So you know exactly what you're feeding your pets. With the 4 protein sources, you can rotate. You can get, you know, a little few of each, rotate between each. Maybe you'll find they don't like one or the other. They do have different flavors as far as the meat goes. But for them, just like they would have different flavors in the meat for us between whether we cook a steak or we cook up chicken. We know the difference. They know the difference. So the Bonehead is a phenomenal product. I love the 1 pound packaging. 1 pound packaging is amazing. Sometimes when we've ordered in the past from places, we get these huge 5 pound things. And if you saw it, by the time you use half of it, the rest of it's gone bad. So the 1 pound packaging is absolutely perfect for most people with just a few kitties or just 1 kitty, because you can open 1 package at a time. That'll probably last you 3 or 4 days. You go through it. You saw it. Again, rotating your proteins. You saw that different protein, that beef this time. and through there.
What else do the people need to know?
People need to know that raw feeding is the only species appropriate diet there is for cats. It's not, maybe it's species appropriate. It's not, let's do something and then think about it. If you're going to own the cat, why wouldn't you feed it what nature intended it to eat over a million years of evolution or lack of evolution on their part? You don't get a goldfish and then turn around and not feed it properly. It's the same concept as well. It's so important for these guys to be emotionally, psychologically happy as well as physically happy. Because we all know if we feel like crap, we're not going to be very nice people as a rule. Pretty much the same way for cats and other animals. If the cat feels like crap, they're going to sit back, they're going to hide, they're not going to interact with you. And the whole purpose of having a pet is having something to love and interact with.